All right. What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? Let's take a look. Take a look. See what we got. See what we got. Hey, the activist independent. How you doing? Just waiting on one other thing to get up and running, and we should be in good shape. So let's see what we've got going on. I hope everyone is having, a good day. That's not exactly what I had in mind. Let me hold up. Let me get let's see. Oh, I think we are good. Okay. It looks like on okay, so the gram, I think we're all right. Recording wise, it looks like I think we're good. It's saying live. So we're just gonna go ahead and make it happen. Worst case, I'll just upload the video and we'll be in good shape. But you are tuned into the Fast 15. This is the author Andrew Snorton, and every Wednesday about 1:06 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we make sure to go ahead and take this time to take a moment to check up, check in, make sure folks are doing as well as possible. We enjoy a short reading slash short passage from one of the books that hopefully is speaking to something that's going on, something that's taking place. And then we try to close out with a positive note just to keep everybody on their way and keep encouraged. So looks like, yeah, we've got everything. That's good to see. The Activist Independent doing some great work up in Nashville, Tennessee. So I think everything else is fine. Like my laptop for Facebook, it's showing that it's live, but for whatever reason, it's like on my end it looks like it's frozen, but either way I'll figure it out. Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot. So first off, I hope everyone is doing as well as possible. I know during the now normal, as we said before, there are different things that are taking place that are making things a little bit more challenging, and things along those lines. It's saying sorry, we're having trouble playing this video. So it looks like on Facebook, I'll just have to upload the video. That's fine. We'll make it figure out. Real talk. We know that there's challenges going on. We've already it's well documented with COVID-19. Still want to exercise best practices regarding, what's taking place. We want to make sure that you are using those best practices. And even though the numbers might be fluctuating, it might not be fully accurate, we still know, wear your mask, wash your hands, take, all those precautions because we want to see you as safe and sound as possible. We also know that from this past weekend, we have surfaced. Some people it's a discovery, but for some people this is old and tiring news, and that's regarding law enforcement issues. I talked about it a little bit last week. A good reading material is if you go to the business website of asnortonccs.com/blog. You want to pull the very first article at the top called Do Differently, and I'll make sure that I put the site in here. I'll make sure to try to type it in on IG Live, and then definitely with Facebook, in some point, way, shape, or form. And on YouTube, I'll make sure to include that. But in that, and especially when we're looking at the cases that are going on, obviously the George Floyd case up in Minneapolis was definitely a catalyst. But not only that, we'd be remiss if we didn't mention the case of Breonna Taylor up in Louisville, Kentucky, Drayshawn Reed up in Indianapolis. We're already aware of We're Running with Ahmaud down in Brunswick, and there are countless other cases, whether highly publicized or never even make the mainstream, make the news, that, hey, this is really an issue. I'm going to briefly speak to that before we get into the track that I'm going to play for our reading portion. But with going deep enough to understand how embedded this is, the timeline is really law enforcement really derived from the slave patrols. That's new information for some people, but really around the 1700s is when the concept of policing in this country really took place. So you can imagine policing, slave patrols. Then, of course, it gets even deeper embedded at the writing of the Constitution with the Three-Fifths Amendment, where it was legal to have the mindset of people being less than human. And basically both sides, the North and South, had to agree with that. For people that aren't familiar with the Three-Fifths Compromise, it was basically a way for the South to get additional population counts so they'd have a bigger number of representation in the House of Representatives. The House of Representatives is based on population. But they knew if they fully counted slaves as people, they could not justify their economic system, which was basically built on free labor, as well as the other legal and dehumanization tactics that were taking place. So basically, what happened is, oh goodness, yeah, I'm definitely gonna have to do something a little bit different on this one, but definitely, like I said, five people counting as three, and then that mentality is embedded not only in law enforcement, but multiple other practices from Jim Crow, Reconstruction, Civil Rights Movement, things of that nature. It's definitely problematic. Uh, Fast forwarding in regards to law enforcement, I think one of the big things that people have to understand is with law enforcement, as I shared previously, and I will share it again, the protocol is pretty simple. You assess the level of risk. If someone is not armed, you use verbal commands to go ahead and defuse the situation. If there is the need to use force, then what happens is it has to be non-lethal, and then once somebody is cuffed and detained, it's over. But as you've seen in some of the video and things along those lines, um, as you've seen in the video there and other videos, that is not happening, and unfortunately a disproportionate number of people are who are victimized end up being people of color. I mean, that's just the reality of the situation. So these are the types of things that people have been dealing with for a while, and you know, on one hand, it's a positive that it has come to the forefront and come to, um, you know, people's level of consciousness. You're seeing more of an awareness for a number of people. I'm very thankful for people that have taken time to give me a call to ask what can we do to be a part of the solution. We do know that different organizations are going to be resistant to change, and we've already seen based on the protests and things along those lines. There's been a little bit of a ruckus, and I'm not talking about the people protesting. Even some of the responses by law enforcement are still grounded in that negativity. There was the case in Louisville where law enforcement had their body cameras turned off. I mean, you can't justify that. There have been different shootings and things of that nature. So we have to understand that there is a need for changing the law enforcement model, the law enforcement paradigm. And with everything that is going on regarding the recent protests, the mobilization, and other efforts that, hey, look, ladies and gentlemen, this is an issue and it's not going to go away by itself. It is an issue that will definitely take time, but we know what happens if we don't take the time. So, definitely, the people who are out there, we definitely want you to be encouraged knowing that you are fighting a fight that is needed and necessary. Hey, Leslie Custom Designs, how you doing? So it's definitely a fight that's needed. Now, having said all that, I want to go ahead and pivot to the reading selection that I think is going to be a good fit for today. And it's actually from one of the audiobooks that I've done, the audiobook series, The Author's Mixtape. And to give you a little bit of a preview of that, the Author's Mixtape sounds just like the mixtape experience that people are used to in music, where it's basically for the tracks that have a musical track, you have the musical track and you are improvising or being very creative or very organic with your words. So what happened is with this track that I'll share in a couple of moments of the Author's Mixtape, this is volume 2, called Beyond the Holidays, and holidays is spelled a little bit differently, Beyond History. What's going on with this one is it's an 8-track piece touching base on a whole bunch of different challenges, issues, topics. And yes, the activist independent, you're right, we do have to address the structural and systemic issues. And I think a good analogy is this. Police brutality is definitely an issue, but think about police brutality as being a branch or an extension from that tree. So even if you cut off the limb of police brutality, you still have all these other limbs in regards to the systemic issues, the internal, the internal and embedded issues that are going on, especially when it comes to dehumanization of people. So, absolutely right. You're absolutely right on that. We have to address what is the root cause. So, in addition to looking at these individual offshoot causes from police brutality, um, financial issues in regards to redlining, things of that nature. What's really going on and how do we get to it? So, the track that I'm going to go ahead and play for you is called PSA. And for some people who know, a PSA is called a public service announcement. You hear it a lot in radio, television, things along those lines. So, this one with PSA takes on a little bit different case, a little bit different mentality. So, it's about a 3.5 minute track, chapter, however you want to call it. So we're going to go ahead and give it a listen, kind of break it down, and then figure out where do we go from here.